Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Another quick game of interplanetary I Spy going on here, or Hunt the Gopher, or whatever you want to call it. This is MSL 985 to 986. This is on the Gigapan site, one I often use now. This is so much quicker than sifting through hundreds of small images because you get a much bigger overview, and you can just scan a whole area in a matter of 10 or 20 minutes if you want to do it. What I usually do is start in the foreground and look at all the largest rocks that are close up. Then I go through the middle or do the ridge line first, quite often, because you often find interesting things on the ridge lines in these images. But generally I just work from left to right and just keep scanning across it, just do a standard search pattern. And there are quite a few weird things in here, but the main thing I've got, which I've now lost because I moved it, is near the middle here. We're just right of center, top of the image, right here. And there's something I really can't explain. It's really strange. Let's go full screen. I'll zoom right in. It's a completely different colour from everything else, apart from the thing near it here. It's like a weird sort of flat panel, and it may be metal, it may not be, I don't know. But the fact that it's quite reflective and a different colour from all the surrounding rocks leads me to believe that it's probably a different type of material. And I really don't know what to call this thing, so if you've got any ideas out there, please leave a comment, because it's been sitting on my desktop for about a month now, and I've really not known what to call it or what to do with it, what it could be. To me, it looks like a panel or some kind of metal sheet that's kind of torn off something. Like I don't know, but it's got this weird sort of pattern here, and this weird sort of mouth-like thing, and two eye type things and a nose type thing. Now, I'm not saying that is a face, because I know we all get accused of pareidolia. I'm not saying it is a face, I'm just saying it looks a bit like one. It probably isn't. Why would a flat object like this have a face on it? I really don't know. I'll show you some enhancements of that, actually, because all I didn't do much with this, because these Gigapan images, a lot of them have already been white balanced, so you don't need to really process them much. But I did do a couple, just to enhance the contrast, and I did a couple of things with it. Here's the clip. Now, when I use the Gigapan, I always take a clip of the location in the image from further back so that I can find it again. But when you look at it from this distance, you can see there are a few white objects lying around, but most of these are small little things and just little fragments of whatever was smashed up there. But this thing was one of the larger things. Now, I'm not saying it's very large. It's probably only about 10 inches wide. It could be smaller. It might be around a foot or a foot and a half. It's very, very hard to tell. The distance on this one is a bit difficult to get your head around. But I'll flick through those anyway. Here's a straight clip of it, and here's an enhanced clip. Now, obviously I've changed the color temperature there, just to make it stand out more, and I've really upped the contrast quite a lot, gone in quite hard with it, just to show this weird thing here. Now, I really don't know what you would call that. I mean, the shape of it looks like one of those crappy misshapen sort of cookies that you got when you were a kid, animal crackers, whatever they were called. It's that sort of kind of childish looking animal shape almost. That's the only thing I can equate it to. It may be nothing. I'm not saying it is a cracker or an animal or anything. I'm just saying that's the shape. It kind of that's the only way I can explain the shape, really, because it's a very random, odd-looking shape, and highly reflective. When you turn up the contrast, and it does really start to come out. I may do a couple more enhancements to this. And stick them in at the end of the video like I normally do. I'll sharpen it up a bit. I haven't sharpened it at all here. I'll see if I can bring out some of these edges and details a little bit. I'm not going to promise too much there, though, because it's as with a lot of these things, the image quality is not brilliant. But there are a few other things in this image, like this. which looks like fake sand or something. Is there a further back one of that? There's also this thing, which is probably a rock, but it looks very odd because it has a hexagonal hole in it, which is almost like a perfect hexagon there. Absolutely spot on, that is. Now, what in nature would cause that? I mean, nature can create sort of symmetrical shapes, but they're never quite symmetrical. People say, oh, yeah, that you've got the Giant's Causeway in Ireland, and you got all your square blocks. No, they're not square. They're not perfect rectangles or squares, or they don't have perfect right angles. But people often use that and say, oh yeah, but you've got this in that country, you got that, but they're not perfect. They're not. They do look a bit symmetrical, but when you get up close, they're not. They only look slightly symmetrical from a distance, and this may be a case of that. Don't know. I'll do an enhancement of that as well. I mean, that's what I just found a minute ago, because I've just gone back through the image. And here's that fake sand thing there, which is near the top. This is to the left of the source image. You can see the ridge line at the top there with the Mount Sharp in the background. And there's that, what looks like fake sand. I mean, what is that? I mean, it may be natural. I mean, it may just be the way the light's catching it. Who knows? Hard to say with these things. But basically, there's some weird stuff in this panoramic. And there's that block thing with the hole, the hexagonal hole there. So that's also right near the ridge line at the top. That's to the left as well. So there we go. I mean, don't really know what to say about these things. They're a bit ambiguous, a bit weird. Let's go back to the Gigapan, and I will put some of these enhanced clips in at the end of the video just to show you in a bit more close-up detail. Let's go back to the Gigapan. There it is, and you can see. I mean, there are a lot other things. There's something near it here. Let's go full screen. There's something to the right of it and just below here, which could be a skull, because it's also very white, and it almost looks like an eye socket here, and a sort of nose end here. Who knows? It's not clear enough. It's really not really clear. As with a lot of these things, it's not really defined enough to make any real judgments about. And there are some other weird sort of twisted up bits of crap here. I mean, if ever there was a junkyard, this is it. I mean, this is the most junkyard looking part of Gale Crater I've seen in a while. I mean, there's just debris strewn all over the place here, and I'm sure there's more in this image to find. I've been through it a couple of times now, and each time I look, I find something else that really puzzles me. And there's just loads and loads of stuff lying around, and it's hard to tell the scale of this, but as I always say, these things are usually a lot smaller than we think they are. It's very hard to get a sense of scale with these things. So, I mean, I first thought that this panel thing was about a couple of foot across, but I actually think now it's probably only about 5 inches, or maybe 8 or 9 inches at the most. Really hard to say. The sense of scale when you zoom back, I mean, it's up on that, almost near the top of the ridge. Really hard to work it out. So I generally try and keep the measurements a bit lower, and I never give it exact measurements because you can't be exact unless you have a Rover track right next to it to measure it to, or something like that. So there we go. Answers on a postcard as usual. I don't know what this thing is. It could be natural, it could be a metal panel, it could be a bit of shrapnel, it could be... So I don't know. I really don't know what to call it. I'm going to struggle coming up with a name for this video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Answers on a postcard as usual. Leave a comment below. I'll see you soon.